While connected technology is essential for unlocking new efficiencies on the production floor, it's also presented hackers with new opportunities to steal valuable IP and data. To support OT professionals in their battle with cyber criminals, we launched the Security Breach podcast. In each of our over 100 episodes, we've brought in cybersecurity specialists to provide valuable insights and break down critical topics. As a go-to podcast for our listeners, we want to help you align your brand with our expertise. By sponsoring our podcast, your brand will build trust, and your message will stand out to an audience searching for tools to assist their cybersecurity efforts. Secure your share in this rapidly growing segment by sponsoring Security Breach. Contact us today to learn more. Hi, I'm Jeff Ranke, Editorial Director of Manufacturing.net and Manufacturing Business Technology. Welcome to Security Breach. You know, while there are plenty to pick from, one of the biggest challenges for cybersecurity professionals in the industrial realm can simply be getting financial support from those powers that be. In manufacturing, there are always a number of viable spending options, and working to make cybersecurity a priority, it can be tough, especially when enterprises are faced with initiatives seen as more fundamental to the core mission of getting that finished product out the door. However, a couple of recent reports could help connect the dots between production and security, and the need to fund both of them. First, there's Adaptiva's State of Patch Management report that found 75% of manufacturing companies have critical vulnerabilities with a CVSS score of 8 or higher, and 65% have at least one vulnerability listed in the CISA Known Exploited Vulnerabilities catalog. So hackers know about these weaknesses, and they're taking advantage of them. This would seem to correlate with manufacturing continuing to be the leading target of ransomware attacks, and that's a finding supported by numerous industry reports. The obvious reaction to these findings is, well, why don't manufacturers simply patch these vulnerabilities? Well, according to Black Kite's 2025 manufacturing report, 51% of those surveyed indicate that patching has become a bigger challenge than intrusion detection. And more than 75% indicate that both IT and security must approve patches before deployment. Reading between the lines, patching takes too long and it's too complicated. So the vulnerabilities persist and the hackers keep winning. This leads us to the real solution for addressing these vulnerabilities: more resources, both for implementing patches and supporting coverage of an expanding OT threat landscape. Here to offer perspective on these and other topics is Chaz Spahn. He serves as the Director of Product Management at Adaptiva. Chaz, thanks for joining us today and welcome to Security Breach. Excellent. Chaz, thanks so much for taking the time and welcome to Security Breach.
Hi, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad that you included me in the show.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I anticipated that sort of was the genesis for this conversation is looking at the state of patching management report that you guys put out, and looking at just all of these vulnerabilities that we're still dealing with, especially in the industrial sector. Seems like it's a lot of the same things, but are you seeing anything that's more prominent in terms of the vulnerabilities that we continue to have to deal with and address? Is there a core area maybe that keeps popping up?
Honestly, what we've seen with our customers a lot is the old stuff. So they're getting caught up on things that are being currently released and getting the current press or current visibility in the press. So it's the old stuff that they're really not going back and catching up on all of that. And it's really starting to bite them because the introduction of AI into the mix is really allowing attackers to make it very simple to simply plug in some of these old vulnerabilities and have it generate exploits for them. So
when we talk about some of the old stuff, what kind of specifically are we talking about here? Is it endpoints? Is it credentials? What are we talking about?
Oh, it's definitely endpoints. I mean, you're talking about old Windows patches, old Linux patches, things that just have been ignored because perhaps they weren't marked as critical. They were a medium level vulnerability when they were released a couple of years ago. But now that those exploits are starting to come out, we need to treat them differently. We need to start making them more critical. And, vulnerability assessment vendors are actually changing the way that they are coding those vulnerabilities, and they are increasing the severity of them. But if that doesn't make it into your patching routines and you're not patching based off that information, then it does you no good.
So, what do you think what, in your opinion? I know there's lots of different responses to this, but patching continues to be an issue in terms of how do we prioritize it? How much time do we spend on it? When you're looking at the industrial sector, there's downtime implications. What do you think? Is it all these things that are sort of creating this monster in terms of trying to manage the patching approach, or are there other issues that we're running into?
It's all of the above. It's the fact that still a majority of people out there are doing some level of manual patching. And specifically when you're talking about the industrial environment, you've got specialty machines that are under the control of a plant manager or somebody who runs that specific machine, and they're not allowing IT to get in there and do the kind of patching levels and updates that need to get done. And so when you're doing a manual process like that, you're waiting for that person to tell somebody else that it's okay to go ahead and do it and hope that they're available at that time to then go do it. And it just makes for a tiered mess.
Absolutely. So what are some of the solutions out there? I know we've talked about automating this process a little bit. Is it just better communication between these different areas of the enterprise, or a combination of both? Or from your perspective, what are some of the solutions we need to start plugging in?
Well, a lot of it is integrations, right? So it's taking tools that we already have. There's already a security team who is analyzing vulnerabilities in that environment. It's taking that information and being able to apply it to a patching routine and a patching strategy, and then to automate that patching so that you're not having to have an administrator wait and click buttons to be able to do things. You need the system to be ready to go when you can have a further down level approval. So when that plant manager gives me the okay, I need to be able to give him the authority to say patch now and allow those patches to go.
It's interesting. I mean, we're all on the same team, but there's all still a lot of those in battles in terms of turf wars and who controls what. So it's an ongoing issue. Shifting a little bit to the endpoints that we started talking about there. In the industrial side, it's tough because we're always adding these Industry 4.0 technologies. We want more connectivity. We want our plant floor to see more things and collect more data, but it's expanding the threat landscape in the process. What have you seen in terms of the industry's response in trying to, first of all, have visibility on all these endpoints, and then trying to secure them? How are we doing, or where are we falling behind?
So depending on the devices, so devices that are actually true endpoints running a Linux, a Windows, or a Mac operating system, those are getting better and better. There's products that are doing discoveries and able to find those devices that may be hidden in different places, and somebody set up and didn't necessarily clue in everybody in IT about it. So those are able to be discovered and actually being brought into management. It's the IoT things that are out there that don't run a full OS, that can't be truly discovered and managed, that are causing the issues there. So then it's a whole nother strategy to try to keep those things with their firmwares and or software up to date.
Absolutely. Especially, are you seeing like an overabundance of stuff that's connected to the internet too? We know we ran into a lot of trouble a while back about people leaving the admin passwords in there, and people were exploiting that. Is it a combination of the credentials and the connectivity, or just general visibility and awareness of what's going on?
A little bit of both. Definitely, it's so simple for a plant manager to go online and find a device that might help him improve his productivity. Yeah. So he goes ahead and buys it and implements it and puts it up because it's easy setup, and they promise that all it needs to do is get an IP and you can do all these wonderful things. Well, again, we're not communicating with IT, so they're not getting any coverage or visibility into it. The security team has no idea that it exists, so they're not able to put any policies in place to ensure that we're changing default passwords and putting in strong passwords and things that can be known and managed through different platforms. So yeah, it's all of the above. It's the preponderance of ease of use that is showing up in our environments that are kind of hiding from our traditional processes and protections.
Well, it's interesting. And as we talk about this, we talk about the technologies and the tools that we need to have better security, but then it's also a lot of the processes that are really more human dependent that we also need to refine. In your opinion, Chaz, what's the best place to start? Do you want to get the tools in place and adapt the processes, or do you get the processes in place first and then bring the tools in? What makes the most sense?
That is a great question. From my standpoint, I always like to say have your processes in place, know how you want to do and accomplish certain tasks, and then bring in tools that will match your processes that you can modify so that it does it the way you want to do it. A lot of customers will bring in tools and then they've got to redefine everything that they do to match the tool because it's got a very rigid set of ways that it is able to accomplish things. So bringing in a tool set that is extensible and adjustable to be able to match your processes is going to be far more successful from both a culture level, from a process level, from a capabilities level, and you're going to have much more success in that situation.
No, it makes sense. And it feels like in either instance, what you really need more than anything else is buy-in. Buy-in from those in the C-suite that they're going to give you the financial support that you need, but also buy-in where the rubber meets the road in terms of the individuals who are going to be responsible for managing those tools, implementing good security strategies. What have you seen in terms of maybe of best practices or advice you could offer in terms of getting that buy-in? Ideally at both levels, right? We want everybody above and below really on board with what we're trying to do.
Empowerment. Again, choosing a set of tools that is going to be inclusive of all of those various levels, right? If I've got a tool that only the security administrators can see and use, then now it's on them to be able to provide some level of communication up the chain to let the C-suite know what's going on and what successes or failures they're having, as well as they've got to be able to communicate down to the plant managers and those application owners to make sure that they're getting their buy-in into it. So if the tool actually is designed to support all of those people, give them visibility, give them levels of control into the product, then you're going to have a lot more success with getting them to join that culture.
No, makes sense. Getting people to buy in and all pay attention to these things so it's not white noise essentially when you're going through cybersecurity training or whatever the case may be is becoming more and more important. You know, we talked about these endpoints and how much more vulnerable they are. We've talked about the vulnerabilities that continue to sort of pile up as we figure out our patching management strategy. What are some of the threats that you're seeing out there? Is it still the same stuff? They're just getting better at it? Or are there any new sort of evolutions to some of the tactics that the hackers may be taking?
So it's really what we're seeing past couple of years is the AI again. It's not that they're getting better. It's that it takes less knowledge and experience to actually be successful in hacking into environments, because generative AI is able to go and look at a published vulnerability, read into it, and generate code to expose and exploit that vulnerability. And so I don't now need to be a 10-year hacker who's got all of this backdoor capabilities in there. I can literally get generative AI to write scripts that if I can get just a foothold in the door, I can run this script even as a low-level user. It can then go ahead and increase my privileges and jump across machines and do lateral attacks. And it doesn't take that skilled attacker to be able to do it. So now we're starting to see the number of attackers grow tremendously because anybody who's got access to one of these dark web generative AI platforms can go ahead and create these things. And there's no way for a human to keep up with it, right? It's coming out so fast and so prevalent. The vulnerabilities themselves was 40,000 last year. Now you talk about the exploits on top of that and the old vulnerabilities that were already there. You know, it's just too much for a human to handle. So we've got to have the tools in place that are going to expedite those remediations.
So have you seen AI been implemented to help with segmentation? I mean, that's one of the things that we talked about really from the start is segmenting your networks, making it more difficult, basically so that we can't have our connectivity weaponized against us a little bit. Have you seen AI used in that way, or do you have some thoughts just on segmentation in general in terms of implementing it without trying to drink the ocean a little?
Yeah, so I mean, segmentation is definitely one way to mediate a lot of these situations and mitigate these vulnerabilities to prevent that lateral movement, right? So they're going to get in. They have a way to get in. There's no silver bullet to keep them out. It's how do we minimize the damage that they can do once they do get in? So segmentation definitely can help us with that, but you have to do it in an intelligent way so that our tools don't get blocked from getting into those segmented segments so that we're still having the protections in place. So it's kind of a devil's advocate there. It's like, yes, I want to
Yeah.
segment this off, but I still need to make sure that a lot of my tool sets and controls can still pass through and be able to manage those environments.
Is that something that we're figuring out how to automate or use AI or anything else for to help streamline that approach? Because, man, that can get real messy real fast. And then we start seeing people throw their hands up in the air and just not want to deal with it, which is what the hacker wants.
Yes. Oh, yes. So there are a lot of new tools that are coming. And I've been privy to actually get in and play with some beta software that is coming that does exactly that. Things that are really focusing on the network level stack and being able to go in and manage VLANs and things like that, all from a true AI reactionary capability to threats that are ongoing. So there is stuff coming. There's nothing that really does it today or does a good job at it. There's a couple that are available out on the market right now with very little implementation out into the market because it's not really quite ready yet, but it's coming.
Excellent. Well, talking about some of the resources that are out there right now, maybe you could tell us a little bit about Adaptiva and some of the things you guys are working on to help support the industrial side.
Yeah. So what we've done is we've taken the idea of patch management, turning it on its head and making it completely autonomous. So our approach to patch management is instead of trying to look at patches as they come out and trying to do something with that, we take the approach of actually looking at the products that you have in your environment and determining the strategies that you want to take to get those products patched to make sure that they're kept up to date. Then as new patches are released, it simply goes through and applies the automations that you decide and gets those patches pushed out throughout your environment without human interaction unless you want it. Because of course, if we're going to put automation in there, if we're going to go all the way to the level of a truly autonomous platform, there has to be human oversight and control. So should something go wrong, should one of these vendors push out a bad patch that starts to bring something down, we can stop it in its tracks, roll it back to the previous version that's good, and be able to have that real-time control over the entire process. And so that's the only way that we see that an organization can compete with the number of vulnerabilities and the number of exploits that are coming out on a daily, weekly basis.
No, makes sense. One of the things I wanted to circle back on a little bit is the human element. We're seeing a lot more social engineering stuff out there, which is not that technical. It's essentially hackers and then bad actors calling people up, claiming one thing, trying to just get little nuggets of information that they can piece together in forming their strategies and their attacks. You mentioned empowerment before, which is great with the tools, but in something like this, it's just more of an awareness and an understanding of the bigger picture. I guess, have you been exposed to any best practices, any approaches that can really help people understand, hey, don't fill out that random survey that you just got sent for a $10 Amazon gift card. Let's make sure we're doing the right thing here on just a very simple day-to-day process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely training and setting the corporate culture to be wary of all communications that are coming through. If you don't know the specific individual and recognize the specific email address it's coming from, then always consider it as hostile. They're trying to get something, whether it's just data that they can sell and make money off of, or they actually have nefarious purposes for that data. So really setting up a corporate security culture that teaches everybody, be wary of every request that comes through, whether it's from a website, from an email, whatever. Know that there is bad intent out there and protect yourself from it.
Yeah, the trick, it seems like what we're really running into is understanding, hey, some of it is real. Some of it you do want to participate in, but walking that line, just being aware of the fact that it could be something negative and just sort of keeping the feelers up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of customers that are starting to do internal surveys and things from the company. They're doing it more like the banks are doing it. I will never send you a form to fill out. I will send you something to take you to an internal resource that you know about.
Yeah.
I won't provide a link. You'll go to the internal web page that you already know about so that you know that it's safe and it's trusted, opposed to actually sending something out there that would look like it could be nefarious and then get ignored.
Yeah, interesting. I wanted to circle back a little bit to talking about artificial intelligence. I mean, there's no way we can not dive into that. It's such a big part of every possible conversation. But in your opinion, Chaz, who's got the edge right now? Are the bad guys using it more effectively than the good guys? Are there some areas that you see like you don't understand why we're not using it more potentially?
It's a matter of training. The bad guys only have to worry about a single vulnerability to really maximize their capacity to abuse it. Whereas on our side, we've got to go across the breadth and try to address every one of those things. So that training is a little bit different. So yes, the bad guys definitely have an edge right now, simply because they're not having to go across a huge swath of different vulnerabilities that are out there. They pick two or three and let the AI just really chew on those and find ways to get in there and do bad things. But the good news is that it is getting better by leaps and bounds on the security side. So you are seeing new tools that are coming out that are heavily investing in AI, and they have teams of individuals that are out there training these things. And there is now AI that is training AI. So literally, there's an AI that does nothing but read the vulnerability database and ingest all of that and enrich that data, and then it trains the AIs that knows how to look for those. And so that's going to accelerate the process much, much faster. So it's coming. I would expect that 2026 and 2027 especially are going to be, it'll be hard pressed to find a tool that doesn't have AI in it.
Well, and I think initially maybe that's a little bit intimidating to a lot of folks out there, but like you said, it's good news. These are positive developments that are going to make our jobs a little bit, well, not easier, but maybe a little bit less complex in terms of what these tools can do for us, streamlining things.
And the key is to choose tools that are going to provide visibility and control. So instead of choosing a tool that just automatically goes and does things that, oh, wait a minute, we didn't want to do that, that it makes suggestions. Here's what I think needs to get done. Can I have your approval to move forward? Which then gives organizations on the bigger side the ability to go through change review processes. On the smaller side, make sure that they know what's going on before it happens so that things don't just break and then they have to go back and say, all right, what did the AI do?
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point to make in terms of sort of the AI asking for permission. We're not going to have like a Skylab type situation here with AI just taking over and making decisions. That's a good call.
Yeah.
Chaz, as we look ahead, we've talked about a lot of different trends here. Is there anything else that you see could really have an impact in the short term when we look at industrial cybersecurity and some of the new developments that might be taking place?
I would lean into integrations. So understanding that no tool or no process even is going to cover everything. It's so how does what one team is doing going to integrate with what another team is doing and be able to fill the knowledge gaps and the awareness gaps that exist in our environments. So the more that we can get these tools integrated and orchestrated between them, is going to have a huge impact into our success and eliminating the risk and vulnerabilities that are in our environments. So if my security team is doing a great job discovering vulnerabilities, but my IT team is not fixing those, then what good is it to know that those vulnerabilities exist? So if I can integrate those tools together and take the knowledge that's coming from the security tools to empower the IT tools to actually go and fix things, then I'm going to actually get the jump and be successful.
No, makes a ton of sense. Chaz, this has been fantastic. A lot of great information here. Really appreciate you taking the time and for joining us here on Security Breach.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Chaz. And for more information on the work he and his colleagues are doing, you can check them out at adaptiva.com. I'd also like to thank you for joining us today. To catch up on past episodes, you can go to manufacturing.net, IEN.com, or mbtmag.com. You can also check Security Breach out wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Amazon, and Overcast. And if you have a cybersecurity story or topic that you'd like to have us explore on Security Breach, you can reach me at jeff@IEN.com. For Chaz Spahn, I'm Jeff Ranke, and this is Security Breach.